Jamie, you ready? All right, I'd like to call to order Westbrook School Committee meeting Wednesday, April 13th. Are we good, Jamie? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the delay in getting started. We can start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, Dr. Lancia.
Jessica Foley.
Here.
Jeremy McGowan.
Here.
Andrea Mancuso.
Here.
Noreen Poitras.
Here.
Katie Rice.
Here.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz is on Zoom.
Here.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Here.
All present.
Okay, next we're going to talk about some adjustments to the agenda. We have been handed out some adjustments related to communications, which everybody should have a copy of that. And then we're also adding 12.6, which is a request to approve changes to Westbrook School Department Policy BHC, which will be an action item for first approval. We're also going to change and take 12.5, which is the School Department Policy GBCB, workplace bullying, and the one I just mentioned, the BHC. We're going to move those right before we start talking about the budget, so right after 12.2. Okay, and then we're going to add 12.7 after 12.4, which will be a proposal from Dr. Lancia for end of year. Theoretically, we'll get all that in that order. Okay,
Yes,
fantastic. Any other adjustments to the agenda? No. Okay, next, approval of the minutes from our March 9th, 2022 minutes. Any approval there? Andrea? Is there a second? Jeremy? We don't have to do a roll call.
We do have to do a roll call. We have to do a roll call because there's a committee member virtual. So we'll do it very quickly. Jessica Foley. This is to approve the minutes. There was a motion by Mrs. Mancuso, second by Mr. McGowan.
Oh,
Okay. Jeremy McGowan.
Yes.
Andrea Mancuso.
yes.
Noreen Poitras.
Yes.
Katie Rice.
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz.
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on to communications, which are in the packet correspondence, and there were some additions that were added as well this evening. Does anybody have any questions about any of that, or is there any of those we need to pull out and discuss? Okay. Awesome. All right. All right, Student Council Government Report. I don't think our student rep is not here. Now we're on to our first public participation for agenda items, only 3 minutes for speakers. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Come on up, and if you'd give your name and address.
My name is Mary Ellen Doherty, and I live in Portland. I am an employee of the district, as well as the current treasurer of the Westbrook Education Association. And I'm representing the Westbrook Education Association this evening. So good evening. The WEA recognizes and appreciates the amount of time, the effort, and the thought that our building principals and administrators, the directors, as well as the central office administration has put into creating and crafting FY 2023's budget. We are coming out of some of the most challenging times in education. The WEA supports this budget, and we hope that you'll approve it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other public participation? Okay. Great. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Salisbury. I should have mentioned during the communication, I do want to recognize a number of people who have announced their retirement. We're seeing a lot of retirements at this time of year, and maybe it's because I'm getting closer and closer to that myself. I'm getting very nostalgic about a number of these people. The people who have announced this month that they are retiring at the end of the school year include Deb Hebert, who's been working in our school nutrition program in the district, and particularly at Westbrook Middle School for many, many years. Deb will be missed by everybody, not just in school nutrition, but in the district and at the middle school. Debbie Bickford, one of our art teachers at Westbrook High School, is retiring. Deb is one of our legends in the district and has led the art department in such an amazing direction here in Westbrook. And as an advocate of arts education, a past president of the Maine Art Educators Association, a mentor to so many people, a real advocate for students and for learning. To listen to how Debbie questions students and leads kids to discovery is just beautiful to behold. Mary Wheeler, one of our ESL teachers, or now they're referred to as our multilingual program teachers. Mary Wheeler is retiring from Congdon School after serving the English language learners in our district for so many years. Dave Flynn is one of our bus drivers who is retiring at the end of this year. We appreciate his years of service. Perry Sutherland, one of our social workers at Westbrook High School, who has been in the district in a couple of different capacities over the years, but most recently at Westbrook High School, has made such a huge difference in the lives of so many people, so many students, as well as people in our community, in our school community. Perry will be greatly missed. Gina St. Clair, one of our Title I teachers at Sakarapa School, who has been instrumental in teaching so many of our youngest learners how to read, whether it's at a first grade level or a beginning level, or as they go through elementary school. Gina has that magic touch of really being able to teach children the beauty of literature, the beauty of reading, and the skills of reading as well. Camilla Barton is our school to work coordinator at Westbrook Regional Vocational Center. Similar to others who have been given great service to the district over the years, has supported students at the center in their sending schools, really supporting CTE over the years at our center, and she will be greatly missed. Kathy Haskell is retiring from Congdon School as one of our Title I teachers. Kathy has the distinction of always serving at Congdon School, which is pretty amazing after so many years of service, and like Gina St. Clair, has taught generations of kids to read. Sherry Shepard is one of our special ed techs who has served at different schools in the district, supporting kids with her patience and her kindness and her nurturing that really has helped our kids thrive. Gyla Woodbury, one of our kindergarten teachers at Sakarapa School, is retiring at the end of the year. And Gyla has been instrumental not just to supporting our 5- and 6-year-olds in kindergarten, but also has been the master of the Sakarapa Garden for so many years and the mastermind behind the Sakarapa Garden. Gyla will be missed. Ben DeRoche, one of our drivers in the transportation department, again, always with a smile, always with a positive attitude, welcoming our kids to school every single day and bringing them home safely at the end of the day. And Roberta Curtis, our nurse at Westbrook High School, who has given amazing service throughout her time in Westbrook, but in particular over the last 2 years. So congratulations to all of them. Thank you to all of them. And we will be at the school committee before the end of the year at our June meeting. We'll be recognizing all of our retirees and honoring them and celebrating them. In your packets and published to the website tomorrow is our monthly teaching and learning newsletter. Just a couple highlights. First of all, thank you to everybody who has attended school family conferences. And you probably noticed the subtle name change. School and family conferences represents a more inclusive term for the meetings that we've been having with our families. We certainly appreciate the many types of families that work with our children, the many type of staff that work with our children. So thanks for coming into those conferences. They should be wrapping up tomorrow. We've had a window of about a month to hold those. Also in the newsletter, just a reminder, we are ready to welcome back volunteers for the last quarter of the school year. After vacation, people in the community, family members who would like to volunteer in our schools, please complete the volunteer application that's on our website. It's a pretty simple application, but it does require a background screening so that we can make sure that all of the adults working with our kids are safe. But if you would like to volunteer, please do that. And you do have to do a packet once every grade span. So once during the elementary years, once during the middle years, once during the high school years. If you've already done it once during the grade span, you're probably all set. But if you need to check on that, you can check with your school office about that. But we hope that people will come back to volunteer, and that does include chaperones for field trips, which are on for the spring. A number of trips are being scheduled. I'm very excited to see those coming back. And last thing I'll mention, in the newsletter, we have some information about learning opportunities at Westbrook High School, particularly advanced learnings. At last month's Educational Programs Committee, Mr. Garrett shared some information about our advanced placement, our early college, our dual enrollment programs at Westbrook High School as well as at WRVC. There are many opportunities for kids to have outstanding learning experiences that really lead them, especially if they are intending to go into higher education as their next step from high school. So please check out the Program of Studies website for Westbrook High School. It really has lots of information, especially if you don't have children at the high school yet, or kids who are coming into the high school in the next couple of years. It gives you a great snapshot of all the offerings, all the opportunities for our kids at Westbrook High School. I'd like to say thank you to Louis Lamprin and Paper City Hoops for a donation of $500 that's been given to the school department to support special services and the Unified Basketball Program. Thank you to him. It's been a great partnership over the years, and to Paper City Hoops, which is a great support, a great service for our kids in the community. It's almost the end of the year, and it's time to start celebrating the class of 2022. We are planning on in-person events for our graduation celebration to include Honor Society inductions for National Honor Society, National Technical Honor Society, National Art Honor Society, as well as our top 10% dinner. There is a junior-senior prom that's scheduled, academic recognition night, WRVC awards night, class night for the seniors, culminating all in graduation on June 11th, 6 o'clock, to be held at Merrill Auditorium. And if school committee members would like to attend those events, please either let me know or you can contact Sue Bailey at Westbrook High School. Some of those are ticketed events, but if there are other particular ones you'd like to attend, and we hope you will attend, that would be great. And similarly, we hope that, faculty, people who've taught our students over the years will participate in these events as well. Graduation is the culmination of 13 years of achievement of our students, but also of our community. It really is a celebration of our entire community and the good work that we've done over these years. It's always an honor to sign the diplomas. That's my favorite thing to do. I even practice my signature so they can read it 100 years from now. Because that says that it worked. Public education worked. And by signing that diploma, by handing kids that diploma, it's that joy that comes from many years of hard work from everybody involved. A couple other really quick updates. I know there's been a lot of talk, a lot of posting on Facebook and other social media, a lot of conversation around some events that have happened in our schools involving some student misconduct, some fights, and some other things that we would rather not have, but we do have occasionally. And I would like to commend Ms. Wood, our principal at Westbrook Middle School, and the staff at the middle school for really leaning into these difficult conversations, and also to families who have come together to talk about solutions to a number of the issues that may be going on. Ms. Wood met with a group of parents last night. Last night was Tuesday night, and shared some data which shows the number of incidents that we've had this year, which is actually comparable to other years, with the exception of last year when we only had students present. But also, Ms. Wood was able to document a lot of the practices that we put in place to support students when they're involved in a crisis, when they're involved in a behavior event. What happens next? Everything from consequences, which could include suspension or in-school suspension, or most likely includes restorative work in terms of addressing the problem, making amends for the problem, and making a plan for corrective action around that problem. I do hope that people will reach out directly to our school principals or to me or to Dr. O'Donnell when there are concerns and issues. We would be happy to discuss those with you. I know Ms. Wood in particular really appreciates when people call in so they can talk through problems, talk through issues, talk through concerns, and collaboratively make a plan for improvement, which was definitely the spirit of that meeting last night. So thanks to the folks who attended that meeting and to the middle school staff and the administrators at the middle school for going there and being willing to work on some of those issues. We're just coming out of a pandemic, and we know that we've been affected in various ways over the last 2 years, and socialization is one of those ways. We need to support each other and support our students as they come back to the kind of schools we had, the kind of lives we had 2 years ago. And one of the ways we do that is through a lot of attention around social and emotional learning. And the last thing I'd like to mention is a proposal, and Mrs. Salisbury mentioned a request that I'll make to adjust the agenda to discuss the end of the school year. Believe it or not, the end of the year is upon us, and as I've written to the school committee, and that will be made public, this has certainly been the most challenging school year in recent memory. It's been the most challenging year in my 32 years in public education on a number of levels. But as we kind of approach the end of the school year, I wanted to recommend a way that we could say thank you to our faculty and staff, to our administrators, to our students, to our families, to acknowledge the hard work, the dedication, the commitment they've maintained over these last 2 years or so, living in this very difficult time. Some other districts have provided bonuses, some other districts have provided other incentives and swag and different things. I'd like to provide a gift of time for our faculty, our students, our staff. So I'd like to recommend that the school committee eliminates or forgives the last 2 days of the school year. And I'll tell you how we could do that. Right now, the last day of school is scheduled for June 21st. That's because we had 3 storm days, which would be made up on June 16th, 17th, and 21st. If you have a calendar in front of you, you notice I didn't count Monday, because Monday, June 20th, is a new federal holiday for Juneteenth, which recognizes the date in history for the end of slavery. So Juneteenth is celebrated on June 19th, but because it's a Sunday, is being recognized on Monday, the 20th. So it would be a no school day. So right now, with the 3 storm days, 3 contingency days, we would be ending school on June 21st, a Tuesday. We have 177 days in our school calendar for students. That's 2 days more than the minimum requirement for the state of Maine. And we've always been very proud of that, having a longer school year than is required by law. I'd like to reduce our 177 days to 175 days this year and end the school year on Thursday, June 16th, forgiving those last 2 days. And that day would be a half day because that's contractually a half day in our schools. So if we did this, that would recognize everyone's hard work, and I think that's a really important thing to do. It's really important to give people time to begin their vacations. I know a lot of summer programs for kids are starting that week of June 20th, and it would also allow us to really close the school year in a positive way, begin a summer of restoration and rejuvenation, and be ready to come back in the fall. I would ask that we pay our school employees for those days as a means of honoring them. Our school year employees are salaried as well as our hourly employees, as a way of saying thank you. And for the year-round employees that we have, provide them with 2 additional vacation days so that they also had that gift of time. Back several months ago, I believe it was before one of the vacations, I gave people their PLC time. We didn't hold PLCs that day, and used that time for personal wellness. I got a lot of positive feedback for that, and a lot of saying, thank you for giving us that time, because time is tangible, especially when you're tired, when you've been working hard, when you need to focus just on yourself. So if we can allow our community to focus on themselves for 2 days at the end of that week, at the end of the school year, I think we'd be giving them a great gift. So I'd like to suggest that we adjust the agenda to add 12.7 to a request to approve the superintendent's proposal for that.
Okay.
And that ends the superintendent's report. There can be discussion when there's a motion. I think that would be the appropriate time.
Okay. All right.
Andrea has a question.
Andrea has a question, sorry.
You mentioned that Ms. Woods shared with parents some data about the middle school. Would you be able to share that with the committee?
Yes, I absolutely will. Yep.
Also, I really enjoyed your teaching and learning newsletter this month.
Seriously, go to the high school's program of studies website. Click on that. It's brilliant. I don't know, Jeff, or you, or Patrick, or Wendy. It's Nicole Sturgis. Whoever put that together, it's magnificent. Makes me really proud. Marianne did.
Oh. Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, chair and committee reports. I'll get started here. I was going to reiterate a little bit about what Dr. Lancia said, about some recent events at the middle school, and I wanted to thank Ms. Woods for having the event yesterday, and I also know that she's going to be having after school vacation Friday morning coffee hour, so I appreciate her opening her doors to be able to have that conversation with parents and sort of opening those lines of communications. Really appreciated. I'm a little shook about the retirements. That threw me off my complete anything I was going to say. That's a lot. That's always hard, retirements, but this year that does seem like a lot. We're very lucky that we have some really great employees, and sad to see them go, but I hope they will enjoy their retirement for sure. The other thing is, I want to again thank the administration for the creation of this budget. All budget creation processes are interesting. They're always different. This year proved no different, and I appreciate the on-the-fly work that's happened with that. And Dr. Majan is stepping into this role and in this creative budget that we have, and I'm excited to have that presented later. Which, we just had, I'll talk about the finance as well. We just had a finance committee meeting tonight, and one of the exciting things that we were able to talk about was that a new proposal for a new website. One of the things that we've heard consistently is the need for an updated website, and I'm really excited. Dr. O'Donnell, thank you for your work on that. It's really, I think that's gonna, again, help with the communication struggles that we've had in the past. I'm really excited to see that happen, so I really appreciate that. As always, we go over our monthly financials and get an update on that, and talked about our budget proposal, which you guys will all hear more about tonight. So we'll leave it at that and open those up for questions when we get there. The policy committee.
Yeah, thank you. We met on March 28th at central office and discussed a number of policies. I think we're going to look at two of them tonight on the agenda. The first is the workplace bullying policy, which is a new required policy, and you'll see we substantially recommended adopting the model policy on that. The other policy we brought forward for action tonight is BCH, which is school committee relationships and communications with staff. We looked at that driven by a recent state law change around school committee obligations to communicate with staff. And we'll, I think, talk about that a little bit later this evening. Assuming adoption of the revised policy language, we as a committee will need to have some additional conversations around how we intend to action the language and the commitment to have more regular communication with staff. So that's just something probably to think about for later agendas. We looked at a couple of other policies that we wanted some more time to continue to talk about before we bring them to the full committee. So they'll be on next month's agenda. The first is transgender and gender expansive students. We talked about some proposals that were brought forward by the Our Spectrum group. We had some thoughts and some questions for them, so we're going to send that back to them for some feedback, and we'll hope to have some further discussion in May. And the other the other topic that we spent some time talking about was the issue of cell phones in the middle school, and the committee had some additional questions and wanted some additional time to talk about that, so that will also be on the agenda in May. And we're going to meet twice in May because we had to cancel our April meeting for the second reading of the budget, so we'll be meeting May 9th and May 23rd at central office.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions? We'll be talking more about that policy committee. Ed programs.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. Thanks for accommodating me tonight. The Ed programs meeting was March 23rd, and we had 3 really awesome presentations. One was an equity update from Amanda Atkinson-Lewis about the Professional Development Day on March 18th and the social emotional learning toolkits that probably will be ready in the fall. And also an enthusiastic presentation by Gloria Noyes about the cosmetology program, which is new at Westbrook Regional Vocational Center. And Dr. Lancia already mentioned the third one, but I just wanted to, just say how exciting I think this is that students at the high school can start to earn college credits that are free, while they're in high school. So I just really want to thank everyone at the high school and Dr. Lancia, because this is such a rich opportunity for our students. So if we can get the word out, that would be awesome. So thank you. And our next meeting is May 18th.
Great, thanks very much, Beth. Okay, and facilities?
We didn't have a meeting this month due to scheduling and the upcoming school vacation. We met last month, the 21st, at Congan, and continue to work on our capital improvements list with the city. And we'll be meeting next month on the 17th here at the middle school.
Okay, moving on to old business, 11.1, request to approve changes to the Westbrook School Department policy, IJJ, instructional and library media material selection. This is action item for final approval. What are the wishes of the committee? Motion by Jeremy, second by Andrea, and roll call, Dr. Lancia.
Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrew Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
Yes.
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
All in favor.
Great. 11.2, request to approve changes to the Westbrook School Department policy IJJ-E, request for a reconsideration of materials. Also action item for final approval. What are the wishes of the committee? Motion by Andrea, second by Jeremy.
Roll call,
Roll call, please.
Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrew Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
Yes.
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
All in favor.
Next item is 11.3, request to approve changes to the Westbrook School Department policy ILA, student assessment. Also action item for final approval. The wishes of the committee. Motion by Ms. Mancuso, seconded by Mr. McGowan. Roll call, Dr. Lancia?
Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrea Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras.
Yes.
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
All in favor.
Great. Now on to new business, 12.1. This is the administrator and teacher nominations provided in the packet. What are the wishes of the committee? Anybody?
Hold on a second.
Do we have?
There are
we-
none.
We don't really
There are
need
none.
to.
Yeah.
Right.
Have any questions or anything? Oh, I thought you were shaking your head. Yes, you're shaking your head. Okay, sorry.
We can just move on to 12.2.
Yeah, 12.2, request to approve the 2022-2023 Westbrook School Department calendar. Action item, first approval. The new calendar is in the packet. What are the wishes of the committee? Motion by Ms. Mancuso. Is there a second? By Mrs. Rice. Roll call, Dr. Lancia?
Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrea Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
Yes.
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
All in favor.
The next item is 12.3, opening a public hearing on FY23 Westbrook School Department budget. Are we going to do the 12.5? I thought we were going to do after this. Excuse me, chair is in error. Let's do 12.5. Request to adopt the Westbrook School Department policy GBGB, workplace bullying. It's an action item, first approval. The wishes of the committee. Motion by Ms. Mancuso. Anybody? Second by Mrs. Rice. Any discussion on this?
Is there any more detail we have on that? What exactly it entails?
Okay.
Yeah, so this is it's in response to LD 1880, which was passed in the 2021 legislative session, and so it's a newly required policy for all school districts to implement. So we took a look at the MSMA model policy, updated it to make sure it tracked with some of our policy language, sent it back to, we had some questions for our legal counsel. So we actually looked at this in both the March and the February meetings. We initially looked at it in February, had some questions, got those questions answered, and are forwarding it for you all to consider. It's the recommendation of the policy committee that it be passed as presented.
Motion to make it first and final.
Okay. Fine. Yeah, all right. Seconded by Ms. Rice.
Okay.
All right, roll call.
Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrea Mancuso,
Yes?
Noreen Poitras,
Yes.
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
All in favor.
Item 12.6, request to approve changes to the Westbrook School Department policy BHC, school committee communications with staff. Action item for first approval. The wishes of the committee? Motion by Mrs. Rice. Is there a second? Mr. McGowan. Discussion on this? Anybody have any questions? I have a question. Is this, so this policy, was the policy itself from Maine School Management, or how did this? We already had an existing policy, but was the additional wording?
So we had an additional policy. This is a policy that was adopted back in the 80s and revised last in 2014. There was a bill that was enacted in the 2021 legislative session that required, that basically says school committees will communicate regularly with school staff on matters of current interest and importance to the school committee, to the school community at such times and through such methods as the school committee deems appropriate. So we needed to update the policy to reflect that, that requirement. You know, as I noted in the policy committee report out, I think we as a school committee need to decide how we're going to action that, and actually come up with a plan and some ways and timeframes that we're going to hear from the staff.
So basically a procedure to go along with the policy?
We
in
need to think
essence?
about how we're implementing this requirement, I think.
Okay. Is that something that would be talked about at the next policy committee meeting, or is that something that we would have as a workshop, or how would that best be handled, do you think?
It would be good to have a discussion as a committee, perhaps to have a small group develop a proposal just to start with something, and then have a discussion as part of the school
Okay.
committee.
I think that, if I can just offer, I think that if there are certain ongoing annual or in a certain timeframes that we decide as a committee makes sense as methods to communicate with the staff across the school district, we should consider as part of our discussion adding those in so that they're reflected as requirements as part of our policy.
Okay, great. Any questions about that? Okay, roll call, Dr. Lancia.
Jessica Foley?
Sorry, I guess I have a question.
Oh.
So Andrea, we're going to do this at the next policy committee. We're going to, what are we discussing right now?
So it sounds like the policy committee, if they're going to start the discussions about what the procedure might be, and then maybe bring forward a proposal for the school committee to discuss.
Okay. All right, so I'm just roll calling to move along to the next agenda
So
item.
what we're implementing now is not the procedure, we're implementing the policy.
Okay.
And then the work that needs to happen will be the procedure to implement that policy.
Okay.
So we would have to then discuss that further, but this policy is a requirement of the newly enacted law.
Yeah.
So we have to put that part in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask just a clarifying question? So is the desire that this will get, so that we'll adopt the required language as part of the policy tonight, and then we'll agenda a discussion on procedures for the policy subcommittee, or did we want to approach it as a full committee workshop to discuss?
It sounded like the recommendation would be that the policy committee would work on some procedures as recommendations and brought forward to the full school committee for us to discuss.
Okay, thanks.
And certainly, again, the policy committees are open to everybody, so if anybody wants to come and add, feedback or suggestions, that's open as well.
Great.
Okay, and
Okay.
the added wording is in the new.
Can you bring your microphone
Oh,
over? I'm having a hard time.
We added some wording that wasn't in the packet originally today. So the additional wording is on there. Okay.
All right, Jessica Foley.
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan?
Yes.
Andrea Mancuso?
Yes.
Noreen Poitras?
Yes.
Katie Rice?
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz?
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury?
Yes. Great. And I just want to clarify, actually, that vote. That vote, the motion and the second was for first approval. Are we bringing this back again for second approval?
It would come back, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless
Okay.
you- yeah,
Where the
so
other
do
one,
that
we had
first.
done first and final, so just want to clarify that. Okay. I have a request to adjust the agenda to add 12.7. Request to approve Dr. Lancia's plan to address the end of the school year, which would eliminate the last 2 days for students. First and final approval. What are the wishes of the committee? All right. Motion made by Ms. Mancuso, seconded by Ms. Rice. And roll call, please.
I have a question.
Yes. Sorry.
So by ending the school day 2 days earlier, does that mean the teachers are getting out early too?
Yes.
How does that affect working agreements and contracts?
So they would still be paid for those days. So those under contracts would still be working what was required under their contract. or their working agreement.
Okay.
And year-round employees who aren't paid by days, but they're paid year-round, would be given 2 additional vacation days as part of it. So it's giving everybody 2 days.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion about that? Okay. Well, I would roll call.
Okay, Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrew Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
Yes,
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes,
All in favor. Thank you, and I'll communicate that with the staff
thank you.
from all of you.
Okay, 12.3, this is the public hearing on the fiscal year '23 Westbrook School Department budget, action item for approval. So that we need to make a motion to move out of our school committee into a public hearing. So I'm looking for a motion to leave the school committee and open a public hearing for the school budget. Motion by Ms. Mancuso, second by Ms. Rice. And then if Dr. Lancia, roll call.
Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrew Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
yes,
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
You are in a public hearing.
Okay. Great, we're in a public hearing now for the fiscal year '23 Westbrook School Department budget. If anybody would like to make any comments or anything about that?
is this
Anyone?
just mostly for the public?
It's for anybody to make a comment.
Anybody to make a comment?
So if we have questions about the budget, we can talk now, or do you want to wait for the next one?
Did you say if you have a question about the budget?
Will
Yeah.
there be an opportunity for us to talk
Yes.
and ask questions?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Got it, okay. Okay. All right. We need to move out of our public hearing back into the school committee meeting, so I am looking for a motion to move from public hearing into school committee. Ms. Rice and Ms. Mancuso, seconded. All right, roll call.
Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrew Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
Yes,
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
The public hearing is closed and the school committee meeting has resumed.
Fantastic. That was a great transition, everybody. Okay. Thank you for getting back on time. All right, so now we are 12.4, adoption of the fiscal year '23 Westbrook School Department budget. This is the first reading. This is an action item for first approval. So I am looking for a motion to move into the discussion section of this budget process. All right, motion by Ms. Mancuso, seconded by Mr. McGowan. Discussion about the budget. This is the time if you have any questions about the budget, just to give a sort of a recap of where we were in the Finance Committee meeting. Over the last few Finance Committee meetings, we've made some changes based on revisit lists, based on adjustments, clarifications.
Do you want me to run down what they were or no?
Yeah, and so I'll just finish what I was going to say, and then we'll go from there.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we've made some adjustments and some changes based on our feedback and error, not necessarily errors, but things that needed to be cleaned up. And so we were given a proposal tonight of a number where the budget stood. And there were two proposals made tonight for potential further savings. One was about, we received some good news that our health insurance would not be increasing. Our last thought was it was going to increase 6%. We found out we had a 0% increase, which could create a potential savings. And we talked about that, taking that money out of the budget, and then also a proposal to take $40,000 out that was under capital improvement. So that's kind of where we're at, and I'll let Dr. Marjanis go ahead and give us the lowdown on that.
Okay, so, excuse me. As a result of this evening's meeting, the general fund and adult ed budget is currently $924,762.53. That is a increase over last year's FY22 budget of 4.18% and has an impact of 5.45% on the local tax rate. The budget process started out, wow, a long time ago, and quite a few public hearings. When we went through all the cost centers, the proposed budget came back at $44,701,382. It was pared down in the 330 Finance Committee budget to $44,276,387. And actually, that was sort of an estimate. The actual came in a little bit less at $44,267,665. The actions of the Finance Committee to remove the money that was held in reserve for the health benefits makes the budget, as I said in the beginning of this, $43,924,762.53. That's a 4.18% increase over last year's budget and has an impact of 5.4% on the local tax rate.
Great. So any discussions about where we're on to at that particular place? Noreen?
Okay, I am like totally confused now. If that represents a 4.18% increase over the budget from last year, then how does that go to a local share of 5.45?
The difference has to do with the revenues that make up the local share. The revenues are down, so that there's a little bit of a difference.
The revenue, do you know where it's down in?
Two places, the ED 279 and the fact that we are not counting on $300,000 of carry forward.
So the money we received from the state has changed from last year. We received more money last year from the state, and then we didn't have that carry forward that we had last year. So the amount, the local share amount will be increased over what it was last year.
What was the percent that we got last year from the state? Percent?
Well, from the ED 279 from last year,
Yes,
hold on.
because aren't we at 48% right now?
Oops.
You mean in terms of how
The percent,
what our receiver is?
correct.
So we had an increase in our general purpose aid, but it wasn't a 4% increase. It was, I think, a 2.5% increase. So that didn't keep pace. So those two revenue shortfalls are what make for the difference between what the budget is and what the local rate is. I would tell you this, by not doing the carry forward next year, we are not going to have this same issue, or we shouldn't have, depending on what the state does for general purpose aid. We shouldn't have that same discrepancy.
Waiting for Sue.
I'm looking at the ED 279 from last year.
Because you said that was down from last year.
It is a percentage, it is up as a percentage, that percent up. Again, off the top of my head, I think it was 2.5 or maybe 3. And if our budget's up 4, that would mean that the difference would need to be made up with local only expense. Again, though, the biggest reason for this change is the fact that we used that carry forward as a revenue source, which is not really advisable because it creates that cliff, which is kind of what we're looking at this with that difference. Next budget season, we shouldn't see that as large a difference.
If I could add too, we did use in the FY22 budget as revenue some funds from remaining funds from the Sagarappa Middle School project as what we call debt stabilization funds. The last 2 fiscal year budgets, we used some of that as revenue. And we also did receive that increase of state subsidy after the budget was passed last July, I believe, of about $1.3 million, which also went to tax relief. So we have some revenue sources that just aren't here in the FY23 budget.
Can I?
Yeah.
Continue? Okay. Brian, I appreciate everything that you've done, honestly. You have totally confused me at times.
I didn't try.
I'm sorry. That is my concern, is I'm having difficulty seeing all these figures that you presented from our last meeting to now and wrapping around where everything's coming from and verifying the figures and stuff. Two things. First thing, I would like to back out the 40,000 capital improvement also that was presented to us. And another major concern I have, and I probably get eaten up on this, but whatever, is that you presented us new positions to add into the school budget, changing positions to be on this, from like a librarian to a teacher and stuff. That equaled, in the beginning, $770,000. And out of that, we took out, I think, the principal, shared principal with Congan and Canal, but we left everything else in. Where I do support adding staff, but there are, I think, some stuff in that list, is not the time to add. The economy is not where it is. People are hurting, everything's going up, and this is just going to add another thing going up that really I think we need to get creative on positions and workloads of other people in our district. I don't want to say anything about the city budget, but everyone complains that the roads are bad, the infrastructures are bad in Westbrook. We need improvement. We have new buildings going up and everything, but here we are asking again for more positions in the school department, which some I do justify can be held, but not all of it, not for almost $700,000. We looked at the budget, we didn't cut anything except for the insurance and that one shared position. I think we could have done more if we really wanted to help the citizens of Westbrook.
Can I follow up with a question? Can you be more specific about what you think we should cut, which positions we shouldn't add? and
Sure, I
what-
don't think we should reclassify librarians to a teacher and 3 to school, that's $60,000. Let me see, hold on. One full-time executive assistant in finance department, $60,000. One full-time assistant transportation, $60,000. 8 consistent building subs at $160,000. Let me see. 3 full-time elementary ed tech contract nurses, $90,000.
Excuse me, Mrs. Poitras, some of those were not brought forward. Some of those were already removed from that list.
There was some what?
Like the nurses were not included. Some of the ones that were on the list, that was an earlier list. I apologize. I sent you an earlier list.
So these, not all these positions are in there anymore?
Correct. The new positions that are requested, if I may,
Please.
there are 2 ESL or multilingual teachers. There are 2 special education teachers. There's 1 kindergarten teacher for Congan School. There's a full-time assistant principal for Sakarapa School, which is actually adding half a position because we're also adding half a position to the special purpose special education assistant director. There is the change of librarians from ed tech level librarians to teacher level librarians, which was funded through ESERF this year. We'd like to move that into the regular budget. There was an accountant position, moving that into the regular budget. There was a middle school Sakarapa shared social worker, again moving from ESERF into the regular budget. And going off my memory, without my list in front of me, and 1 STEAM teacher for
So-
Westbrook Middle School.
Are they in the budget or out of the budget?
Those are the ones that are in the budget.
Right, so that's the one I'm saying, like to reclassify
The librarians as teachers,
librarians.
yes.
Okay, you have, I'll just go through the list. The high school, you had ed teacher, totally fine with. STEAM teacher, I'm totally fine with. Middle school teacher, fine with. Social worker, fine with. The librarians, I'm not at this time. Teacher, special ed teacher, I'm fine with. Are we keeping in the half a social worker, the Sacarappa?
Yes, Sacarappa Middle School, they share a social worker.
And we're adding in the full-time assistant principal.
Yes.
I thought we were taking out one of those, that social worker position. That's the half, that's not true.
No, there's funded by ESER right now. It's a position that's split between Sacarappa and the middle school. We'd like to
Okay.
keep that in.
And we're going to add a half a position for assistant director for special services.
That's kind of a reorganization of the assistant administrator at SAC and the assistant director. It would be adding one full-time equivalent position. There's someone who's splitting half-time at Sacarappa, half-time as special ed, special program administrator who handles the out-of-district placement, Spring Harbor Hospital, et cetera.
And then all the others that I mentioned, the contract nurses, the assistant directors, well, executive assistants and the subs is still all in the budget. That's a lot.
Those are not in the budget.
Those are not in the budget?
There are some of the consistent building subs in the budget, just one per building, I believe.
There's one per building, that's correct. That was reduced
So it's
from...
not 8, it's 5. You see why I'm so confused?
I don't actually see why you're confused, Mrs. Poitras, because we've had multiple meetings, multiple charts presented and presentations made about what, and we've discussed this at length, so I actually don't know why you're confused.
Because I don't remember any of these coming out of the budget. I was here last time we met. I don't remember 8 subs going down to 5 subs in the budget ever mentioned.
Mrs. Rice?
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So the librarians at the elementary schools were ed tech positions and have been for a very long time, but they teach a class just like the art teacher, the music teacher, the physical education teacher, correct? So it would make sense that they would be paid as a teacher. And they're already being paid as a teacher this year. Is that also correct?
That's correct, under ESER.
Okay. So we would just be continuing what they are already being paid. Just, okay.
But giving them a $20,000 pay raise.
No. They're currently being paid that. It's just being paid out of ESER funds. So this coming year, that money from ESER is no longer there. So we have to.
Now it's in our budget.
Right. But they are being paid to be teachers like they have been and always have been.
So what do they teach? I'm just curious. I don't want to nitpick, but I'm curious.
The librarians have, their fingers are across the school, you know, in terms of technology, media studies, as well as literature appreciation, library science. You know, they have a weekly class. Just as kids go to music, they go to art, they go to the library. They teach study skills, they teach library skills, they teach reading skills. One of the reasons we put those into the ESER fund, they were really central to our recovery plan from the pandemic in terms of raising the level of literacy across the elementary schools, really working collaboratively with other teachers in terms of raising the literacy level. So they've really been an instrumental position. They have not been grading students, which is one of the ways that we have been able to have ed techs in the role, as opposed to teachers who, like music teachers, assign grades. But they see kids every week, and they manage pretty sizable collections, and they're really instrumental to our academic plan in the schools.
One of the things I want to say, because thank you for technology, but I've heard from the mayor that, and we talked earlier when we were on the break, that he is in favor of this budget, and we've worked really closely with him throughout, and the city administration to provide updates along the way. They are in favor of the budget. I can't say all of them, but I know for sure that the mayor is. And we've also had some exciting conversations about capital projects. I should say Dr. Lancey and Brandon and Jeremy and the facilities committee and Dr. Mazanas came up with a priority list of projects throughout the district that have needed to happen, and are things that we really need to prioritize. And we came up with this a list that we presented to the city, about $5 million. It was really sort of a dream list, and the best part about it was the city was fully on board. And it was really exciting. I've been on the school committee for a long time, and I was so excited to hear that some of these projects we've been talking about for a long time are going to happen. We'll be able to use some funds from the city. We'll be able to bond on some of these projects. A lot of really creative ways to get these projects done. It's really going to be a game changer for us. And so the collaboration that we've felt so far through this budget process, and then along with the capital improvement with the mayor, has been, I really appreciate that. So I'm hoping that we can keep moving forward. I've heard a lot of good feedback from community members that are really appreciative of this budget as well. So I'm optimistic that we'll be able to continue forward.
I think it should be noted as well that we're not, this is so much, you look at the numbers and you think, well, it's an increase over last year. It really isn't that big of an increase. It's just a matter of, as Brian said, funding that we don't currently have. So we're just continuing the programs that have been there. Similar with the ESERF, you know, the government designated the librarian position as a teacher position, and we're just continuing on with what they did. Unfortunately, we don't have those funds there, but we can't just not have that position, I feel. As well as adding a lot of these other teachers. You know, I've heard from some folks that are like, what do we need these teacher positions for? Or are we top heavy administratively? Or what are we looking at, you know, locally? You know, what are other schools doing? And I've stressed this at many meetings, and I continue and will stress this, that we are the third most diverse community in the state. It takes a lot to keep that going. The only other two communities that compare with our diversity are Portland, who just passed a $140 million school budget the other day, and Lewiston. And in doing so, I think it's really hard to then compare us to these other communities. We're unique in our own right from the community that we've grown over the last 20, 30 years, from a small mill town to a booming business with the opportunity to pull up our bootstraps and our pants and bring our schools along with it. And I would hate to see a missed opportunity trying to, you know, I'd love to be able to shave some more money out of the budget. We all would. But in all reality, we should be looking at ways to increase our budget, to add everything that we need to support all the different languages and students and needs that we have in our community and beyond. Also adding like this, the STEM teacher, I think is vital. It's kind of a step two, as I was talking to Brian, and we've got step one, we got step three, we need step two there. It is a cost, but not all of our families, so I'd say probably 90% or more, excuse me, of our families in this community can't afford to send their child outside of this city, to another school, or to a charter school, or just to a special program, when we've got the tools to offer those programs here in the city, to develop those minds, those kids that want to learn in the science and math departments, and want to stay in the community and build a stronger, more vibrant community. I think that's extremely important to the business aspect that the city is working on as well. You know, whether it's increasing our teachers, educating the students properly, educating the staff properly on how to communicate and how to really move things forward. You know, this budget is at $43,924,762. Brian?
Right on.
Thank you. I'd like the motion to approve that as is at this point. I do not believe in shaving anything else out. There's really not a whole lot we can shave out, you know, that's going to make up that big of a difference. 0.1%, cutting out capital improvement programs You know, we've met with the city and had, as Sue said, great conversations. We continue to want to, with those conversations, they had figures that lined up with our figures. So I really don't think we need to back down in any way, shape, or form to just for a few pennies on the dollar comparatively with what this overall budget is. Like I said, I'd love to see it have an opportunity to find a way to cut something out of it, but with today's world and prices going up, it's almost not even fathomable to be able to offer the students and the kids of this community the proper education that they deserve as a human being, that we have to fund it. We have to find a way to fund it, and I think we have the means and opportunities to do so. Not everybody will be able to afford these things, but then that's where the businesses should be stepping up and helping us fill those gaps and voids so that we don't have such a debate every year on how we can try and shave down a budget, that we should be looking at how we can improve it, inflate it, and make these schools booming. We want to see those kids with smiles on their faces going in the doors, coming out the doors. The parents are going to be happier. You know, it's a NASCAR pit lane dropping off the kids and picking them up these days. It can be very stressful. Tensions can rise, but I think it's really just trying to keep your head cool, focus on what you need to do to get through the day, to take care of your own personal responsibilities. And I feel this budget is our personal responsibility to pass on to the taxpayers and have them vote on it this season. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Nicholson.
So I think that we've all seen over the course of the last year the challenges that the transportation department has had. We've seen doubled up bus runs and staggered times and schedules shifting every week. And I winced a little bit when I saw the communications tonight that we have 2 retiring bus drivers. And before we vote to send the budget forward, I guess my question for our administration is, can we be confident that we are appropriately resourcing our transportation department so that we stop having some of these doubled up bus issues and different times every day and can get more back into a more consistent transportation schedule next year?
Well, certainly our transportation department is facing what every transportation department has been facing, you know, across the state and across the country, in terms of in general, you know, having driver shortages. Our transportation department actually has been fairly fortunate in being able to retain and to attract people to our transportation department, and that's to the credit of our transportation department, really, and the good work that Melissa Foy and her staff of drivers and office staff are doing to really solidify that department. The challenge is the number of employees that can possibly work for us. That's always a challenge. You know, we've seen small pools of candidates in many positions. I'm hoping that as we emerge from the pandemic, that will change as we go into this spring and summer's hiring season. One of the reasons that we've had to double up some runs is because of absences, because of illness, because of different types of leave that people have had to have, very legitimate reasons for our drivers not to be able to work. And without having spares or additional drivers, we haven't been able to fully staff some of our runs. And Melissa and the team have really worked hard to be able to rearrange and to do those runs as we possibly can. If there are needs that the transportation department identifies as we move beyond the adoption of a budget, just as I have done in past years about new teachers that we've had to add, Melissa would certainly come to me, and I would come to the school committee to ask for those additional resources if they're needed, either under the ESSER funding or under general fund. So if those needs present because of increased numbers of students who need to ride buses or specialized buses or moving from one side of Westbrook to another, which is a pretty lengthy route. I would absolutely come back to ask for those if we need to do that.
We've had conversations just recently about, are there ways, we haven't actually had them with Melissa yet, because it's a new developing thing, but we've talked about potentially meeting to figure out what ways the school committee can support the transportation department, what ways are there other ways that we can support? We know that it's, challenging finding staff and stuff, but it's going to be an ongoing conversation we're going to have for sure.
So you're confident in the transportation portion of the budget that it meets the needs as you currently see them?
If we are fully staffed, yes.
Can I talk about two other things?
Huh?
Can I talk about two
Oh,
other
yeah.
things? All right.
Yep.
I would just like to take a moment and speak to the bench subs. As a parent of two elementary students, I think hopefully next year we won't be as absence challenged as this year has been. But I can just say that I've seen the difference in the daily experience my kids have coming home after having a substitute that they've consistently had, that they've seen in the building. They seem to learn more. They're less upset about not having their classroom teacher. And it's different when they have a substitute that they've never seen before. So it seems to me that this is a really creative idea to try and foster additional consistency for our students, particularly after the last 2 years where they've experienced a lot of flux. So I appreciated the creativity that brought them into the budget and support them staying in. And the other thing that I would just like to spend a few moments chatting about is, having had an opportunity to go into two of our elementary schools, it's really incredible to be able to walk through the space and see what our teachers do with the very little, practically speaking, that we give them. And it's our staff that really create the positive energy in our schools and really create the school community and the sense of belonging for our kids. And I think that we've heard from staff and administrators that they really aren't resourced well to be able to do that. And I'm really troubled by the fact that our teachers are spending so much out of their pocket to support classroom activities, whether that be construction paper or the little pom-poms that they use for art projects. Those are, the end of year gifts and the Christmas gifts that they give kids, and those all really foster a sense of community for our students, and particularly for our younger students. And I would like to propose that we've cut almost $1 million out of this budget from where it came to us. It's a needs-based budget, and we still cut things out of it. And I would like to propose that we add some small amount of money, even if it's only $20,000, to be allocated proportionally amongst our elementary schools, so that our principals have additional discretionary funding to support classroom needs of teachers.
Is that a motion?
It's not a motion. We already have a, do we
Or
already have a
something?
motion?
You have a motion on the table, so this would be a motion to adjust the motion. So if there's a counter motion.
Yes, and I have a counter motion that we move the budget forward with an additional $20,000 to be allocated amongst our 3 elementary schools as additional discretionary, I don't know what you call it, consumable, on the consumable line, that our 3 elementary school principals have additional dollars to support classroom teacher expenses.
I appreciate the recommendation, and I think that on paper that sounds like a great idea, but unfortunately that wasn't something that was presented by the principals, and I'm concerned that by going out of line of what the things that they had presented they would like to see as additional money being spent in the budget kind of is an end around to their recommendations. I think it's, I'd love to be able to fund more for them, but I worry about that process. Just my.
So there's a counter motion. Is there a second for the counter motion? So there was original motion. Let me see if I have this right.
Dr. Lancia,
There was a motion to,
Oh, Beth?
Beth Schultz would like to speak.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. O'Donnell. I hear what Andrea is saying, and I'm also concerned about middle school teachers and high school teachers. They have 3 times as many students. And if we, unless I'm mishearing you, if we do it for elementary, I think we need to also recognize what middle school teachers and high school teachers do. We're not always aware of all the little things that they do. So I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm also advocating for the other grade levels as well, if there's a decision to do that.
So the original motion on the table was to approve the budget of the $43,924,762.53.
Right, second.
And
then
then
a
a second. And the counter motion was from Ms. Mancuso to add back in $20,000 to that. So is there a second to Ms. Mancuso's counter motion?
Can I ask a question? I assume this is not the time to get feedback from said principals.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, I assume this is not the time to get feedback from said principals.
If they would like to add
I
comment.
don't know if that's like allowed right now. I don't.
I think you could, if you want to ask
Yeah.
them to.
If anybody would like to weigh in on that.
Can I just say something as she comes up?
Yes.
I kind of agree with Sue also. We are forgetting the high school and middle school, and we're a district who is really concentrating on equity, and this definitely will not show that for the high school or the middle school. And they didn't put it in their budget.
Ms. Harvey?
Hello? Oh, good. Wendy Harvey, co-principal, Westbrook High School. I would say that I could probably speak for every director and principal in the district to say that we would welcome any additional funds put into our budgets, and we would find the need and the right place for those funds to go. So if you equitably want to put anything back in, I think we all would say, thank you.
With that said, is there a way we could maybe adjust the per pupil amount for each cost center so that it's equitable? I don't know exactly what the most efficient way to potentially propose that would be, and what that number would then look like, I guess.
This could get, now we're getting a little hairy.
Right?
Yeah, now we're getting, but.
So if you adjusted a per pupil allocation, if you allocated, just to throw out a round number, $5 and increased $5 per student, then that would be 24, whatever our
Yeah,
magic number
I can
is,
get a spreadsheet going for
2,400
that.
times whatever the dollar amount is.
Yeah, I think, it's a good point about equity. I don't think we could do it for just the 3 elementary schools. We'd have to do it for every student, which we can maybe get a number of what that would look like, and that might help our decision.
Or you could just go $4,000 each school.
We could also pick a number we're comfortable adding to the budget and direct Brian to divide it proportionally, which might be the easiest
That would give me
thing.
more time, yes.
Because not only that, I'm sorry, but you're also getting transportation's not going to get any, maintenance is not going to get any, food service is not getting any. So it's just not elementary schools, what their needs are and stuff like that. I can guarantee you, transportation probably could use an extra couple $1,000 on something.
One of the good things about their new policy, the communications with staff, is it opens up that line of communication so we can hear those things that are needed, and maybe we can work together to find out what are the ways specifically through, either through budget, is it through the community, is it through business, PTO, what is the way that we can get at that? So we can open that line of communication to find out specifically what it is that's needed to do.
I'm sorry, WBRC and the music department and athletics.
So,
I think
so
the
the
20,000 just went to 40.
Yeah, I think we're,
But it sounds like what you're talking about is almost like a supply line type of
Right.
funding for the schools, for what the teachers are already taken out of their pocket.
I appreciate Sue's point that we're going to create ways to have more communication with staff, but I think we've heard pretty consistently that teachers across the district are not finding that there's enough discretionary dollars at any of our schools to actually pay for things that they think they need for their classrooms to enhance the classroom experience. And I think we've heard that pretty clearly, and I think we should respond to that need. But I am only one of seven.
So there's a counter motion on the table, and there's no second yet.
Well, so were you able to come up with any numbers?
Yeah, at $40,000, it would be an increase of $16.85 per student.
which
Did you
equals
say 16?
16. It's 2374 students.
what's the total? So if we, what would that be to the overall budget?
Oh, okay, the additional 40?
So what's the 40? You
thought
started
it
with
was
20.
20.
What?
20,000.
Oh, so if
I
we
started
added
small with
$5
20.
If we added $5 in the per pupil for students,
$5 per student was $11,870.
So, do I counter motion again? What do we do? What's the next? There's so many counter motions and I've kind of lost track.
Well, mine doesn't have a second, so it fails.
so it
Okay.
fails, so.
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay,
that-
so we're still, okay. So I would motion to approve the budget with the addition of the extra $5 per student.
So adding $11,870 to the budget.
Yes.
Is there a second to that counter motion?
So that's less than what, okay.
Okay, so Mrs. Rice and then Ms. Mancuso seconded. Discussion.
Discussion. So if we add the per pupil, how would that be, what would be the process to allocate those funds? So would it be listed, separated out into a consumable line, or how would that be allocated for for the students?
My intention is it would be allocated to the building administrator. So
Okay.
Principal Hebert, Principal Brooks, Principal Seal, Principal Harvey, and Principal Wood, and not forgetting the WRVC, would get an additional pot of discretionary dollars that they can meet the needs that their teachers are coming forward with asking for.
So then if we take, so $11,780 divided by, is that 7 buildings? Am I right?
6 buildings.
6 buildings, 11,000 divided by 6 buildings. So about $1,900, a little over $1,900 per building to be used as discretionary funds. That,
But it would be allocated differently based on number of students?
Allocated what, I'm sorry?
Differently based on number of students?
Right,
Okay.
Right, so
So,
the larger
yeah.
school would have more funds
Right.
given to it.
Because it's more on a
Yes.
per pupil.
Beth Schultz would like to speak.
yes, sorry.
Yeah, although I support this, I'd like to remind us of a conversation I think that was had during one of the Finance Committee meetings about recreating or reconstituting, I think it was a Westbrook Education Fund, because I think there are people in the community who would be willing to contribute to some kind of discretionary fund that allows the principals to use the funds as needed. So I'm curious about that, direction as being a possible direction for us to go in, because, I do hear what Noreen is saying, so I'm just curious about that. Is that an option? Some of this is kind of a surprise tonight to kind of have this conversation when perhaps it could have been, we could have had this conversation during the Finance Committee meetings and maybe done a little bit more research. So again, I guess my question is, what happened to the idea of the Westbrook Education Fund?
I don't know if I can answer the question. So it sounds like, so the motion is to add $5 on per student. They would be allocated to each of the schools, depending on the amount of students that you have. And then as the teachers the principals, could be used to discretionary funds. Okay, so that's the motion and the second?
That's the kind, yes.
Okay, so roll call.
Noreen
vote.
has
Sorry, yes.
I'm sorry, but if my memory serves me right, Peter, during one of our business meeting, does all teachers spend their allotted money?
So there are different types of money. So we have allocations for basic supplies.
Right,
That's the per
should
pupil.
be earmarked for supplies, because that's what Ms. Mancuso said. She should say they don't have enough money for classrooms and supplies. So this should be earmarked for that. Do all teachers spend their allotted amount?
So the allotted amount for the basic supplies, those are well spent. That
They are spent.
provides pencils, notebooks, paper, school supplies. It's been our tradition in Westbrook to provide elementary teachers with $100 a year of discretionary money to buy the pom-poms for the special projects or the snacks for parties and such. And we did increase that to $120
Correct.
in this budget. And that's always been a long-standing tradition. Not all teachers use that. We want all teachers to use that, and we're pretty, as long as it applies to the classroom, it can be books or pom-poms, it can be, or anything in between. Not all teachers always put in for that.
Okay. So we're going to add in about $11,000 for the schools, correct? But nothing for transportation, nothing for the music department, nothing for food service, maintenance, nothing extra for them. Correct?
Well, technically, the music department would be getting
Okay,
a portion because it's per pupil, so it's for the students, not necessarily the school.
But that's not equity.
But it's for every student.
So it becomes more complicated at secondary because students
Right.
have 7 different seats if they have 7 different
True.
periods. So at the elementary level, they're self-contained. So the money goes to their 4th grade teacher, In middle and high school, they have English, math, social studies, music, et cetera. So it wouldn't be for every teacher, I'm not hearing. It would be a per pupil allocation to provide a fund or a line in the budget for the principal to allocate to teachers in the school for students, for students. how the principals divide that up would be dependent upon the school. Elementaries would be very similar, but middle and high school and vocational would be likely very different.
And they make those decisions with some discretionary money we give them already in the
They
budget.
do.
This would just be increasing their ability to say yes to the classroom teachers that are coming to them saying, I would like to do this project or purchase these supplies for an activity with my students. Can I have discretionary dollars? So that those teachers have less circumstances where they're going into Walmart or Michael's or Target and spending their own dollars to provide those experiences for our students.
It almost seems, if I might say, and I kind of agree with Beth, for the dollar amount, if we had more of an opportunity to see what an increase would, obviously any increase would benefit the schools and the teachers. But if there was some way to, obviously I believe we could create a discretionary supply fund. You know, I mean, as far as creativity, you used to see all those when we were younger in school. We had fundraisers. They'd have a chart, and when you get to the top of the chart, you reached your goal. This almost seems like something, you know, if we were looking for $20,000, $30,000 to add to that we could possibly, as a community, have a fundraiser that we could have these funds, you know, donated to from some of these businesses that I was speaking of earlier. And potentially, Andrea, maybe get that up to $30,000, $40,000 without it affecting necessarily the current budget as we have it here. I'm 100% behind you and that the teachers and the schools need more money to spend. I just think we might be able to get creative on this one and raise these funds throughout the summer. You know.
So as far as, I think, to focus back on the budget, I think, you know, again, my perspective, I'd love to give more money for teachers to use discretion. I come back to the fact that I'd like to hear more. I'd like to have more of a process in place before we do this. How would we do this equitably? I want to hear more. It seems like a further discussion before I would feel comfortable adding these funds. I want to hear more about how would it be allocated? What does that look like at the middle and high school? How does that, you know, what does the impact WRBC? How do they do that? The schools that aren't used to using discretionary funds, erase that. I just would like to hear more, especially like our conversations about equity and things like that. So, you know, I appreciate the sentiment. I'm not comfortable supporting that. So we can take a roll call on the
On Mrs.
counter
Rice's
motion.
motion.
Right, yes.
What
just-
are we roll calling on?
I love being first. I'm going to try not to say
Second the
here this
counter.
time, so.
So it's roll call because we have a remote member. That's why we're doing roll call right now. So we don't usually have to do that until you vote for the final budget.
Right.
But the motion is actually a counter motion, and that would be to add $11,870 to the motion that's already been proposed, which would provide for consumable materials to be spent in a discretionary manner at the 6 schools. Okay?
Yes.
All right,
Thank you for clarifying that.
I think. Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
No.
Andrew Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
No.
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
No.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
No.
Motion fails.
So we still have a motion on the floor, the original motion, which is to approve the budget as presented, the $43,924,762.53. Correct? That was the original, okay. And we have a motion and a second, so
I thought I asked for
say that again.
I thought I asked for the 40,000 capital improvement to be taken out, to bring it down to 43,884, 762.53.
You want to make a counter motion to back out the 40,000?
Yes.
Okay. Noreen has made a motion. Is there a second?
A second, so the motion fails.
Motion fails. Okay, so we're back to the original motion of the, I won't say the amount again. We're back to the original motion, which is to approve the budget at $43,924,762.53. Okay. And we had a motion and a second, so we need a roll call. Oh,
So before
more
that,
discussion?
if there's no more discussion, could we have a 5-minute recess so that
Oh,
Dr.
yes, we
Mazianis
could do
could
that.
complete the warrants? Because the next step in the process, and this is for new members or people watching, the motion will then be read aloud, the warrants will be read aloud, which are the same warrants that would be approved by the city council and approved by the voters in referendum, so that the public can hear what those specific warrants are broken down into the 7 or 8 categories that we have to do. That's how you take your vote.
Yes.
So if we can have 5 minutes for Dr.
Take a
Mazianis to
5-minute
confirm?
break. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Where's number one? Number one is in here too.
See if they're in the hallway. Huh?
More look.
Yep. Is
That's
that
all I
it?
need.
No, we're going on vacation next week.
This is this one I know.
Done that plenty of times.
Okay.
That's all we need. Just add to the fun, right?
Okay. It's going okay. Or we will be back? We're back. All right, thanks everybody for your patience with all that. Before we actually get into it to read the warrants, Brian created a document that explains the warrant articles. So I thought that might be helpful. He's going to quickly go through that and give us a reminder of what these warrants mean.
Okay, thank you. So the warrant is required by Maine statute. Article 1 has two parts. The one part is, they're both based on EPS model that we talked about with the Finance Committee. The first one is what the total EPS is, and the second is what EPS demands as a minimum amount of spending. As you recall, EPS is a floor, not a ceiling, it's a minimum. Article 2 asks what local-only debt service needs to be paid. This is debt service for things that were not purchased through the state. Article 4 does the general, Article 3, excuse me, does how much additional funds above EPS Westbrook will spend for education. And again, remember, it's one of those deals where EPS is not a ceiling but a floor. It's a minimum, and it's really made to calculate state funding. Article 4 has all the sections of the general fund that we often talk about in schools. Section A is regular instruction, and in there it talks about what sort of areas are in there. But it's things like EL, or actually multilingual, wow. Content area teachers, gifted and talented, field trip supplies, that sort of thing. That was the article that I started working on adjusting as you guys were talking about that number earlier. Article 4B is special education. I think that's self-explanatory. 4C is our CTE, Westbrook Regional Vocational Center. 4D is called other instruction. That's basically athletics and related activities. 4E is student and staff support. Those social workers, school counselors, nurses, librarians, and the related expenses. Section 4F is system administration. That's a lot of the stuff that happens down at central office. G is school administration. That's the principals and the and the sort of things that are necessary around that administration. Section H is Melissa's. It's transportation and buses. It's everything having to do with those guys. Section I is facilities and maintenance. And everything having to do with keeping our facilities running. Article 4, Section J is debt service. That's everything, so it's going to be a different line than Article 2. Section K is other, which we have no other, so we're good. All those added up make the general fund budget. They're exclusive categories, so if you add up each of those numbers, it'll come to the number that's at the top, and I did check that on the spreadsheet. And finally, Article 5 is adult education, and it talks specifically about how much the total budget is and how much the local expense is. Article 6 is sort of a catch-all that allows the school committee to use any additional funding that is made available after this budget is passed for whatever purpose the school committee deems appropriate. So that's sort of the big picture overview of our articles that we'll be talking about.
Great, thank you. So now we are on the adoption of the Westbrook School Department budget. So I'm going to go ahead and read these warrants. Act to adopt the 2022-2023 school budget resolution as required by state statute. Move approval of the 2022-2023 school budget resolution to comply with state statutory reporting requirements for the Westbrook School Department based on revised and enacted state subsidy funding. Article 1, to see what sum the municipality will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Recommended $33,568,104.41. And to see what sum the municipality will raise as the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15688. Recommend $16,171,670. Explanation, the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount that the city must raise in order to receive the full amount of state dollars. Article 2, to see what sum the municipality will raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the legislative body for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. Recommend $2,535,752.78. The explanation is non-state funded debt service is the amount of money needed for the annual payments on the school administrative district's long-term debt for major capital school construction projects that are not approved for state subsidy. The bonding of this long-term debt was previously approved by the voters or other legislative body. Article 3, shall the city of Westbrook raise and appropriate $4,918,629.46 in additional local funds, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $4,918,629.46 as required to fund the budget recommended by the Westbrook School Committee. The Westbrook School Committee recommends by $4,918,629.46 for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model by $4,918,629.46. The additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the school administrative unit's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and local amounts raised for the annual payments on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the city's budget for educational programs. The state's funding model does not support all of the costs for pre-K through 12 education. It includes only those costs considered essential by the state's Essential Programs and Services EPS model. The state's funding model has not been able to provide full funding for special education and English as a second language program and to support the lower student to teacher ratios available in Westbrook. In addition, the state's funding model does not fully fund the costs of transportation, activities and athletics, and maintenance of plant. Finally, the EPS model was not intended to be a formula to calculate how much SAUs should spend on education. EPS is intended to be a means for calculating fairly general purpose aid from the state of Maine. Article 4, Total General Fund Article. To see what sum the City of Westbrook will authorize the school committee to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023 from the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15690. Unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the Board of Schools. Recommend $43,537,203.25. Pursuant to 20-A MRSA subsection 1485, voters and the Westbrook City Council authorized the Westbrook School Committee to expend the above funds in the following state mandated categories. Article 4A, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. Recommend $16,691,696.58. Article 4-B, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for special education. Recommend $6,240,040.60. Article 4-C, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for career and technical education. Recommend $2,710,862.55. Article 4-D, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for other instruction. Recommend $813,583.74. Article 4-E, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. Recommend $3,369,891.21. Article 4-F, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for system administration. Recommend $2,048,553.53. Article 4-G, to see what sum the school administrative unit shall be authorized to expend for school administration. Recommend $1,907,095.90. Article 4-H, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for transportation and budgets. Recommend $1,884,061.12. Article 4-I, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. Recommend $3,686,239.24. Article 4-J, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. Recommend $4,185,178.78. Article 4-K, to see what sum the school administrative unit will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. Recommend 0. Article 5, to see if the city will appropriate $387,559.29 for adult education and raise $166,174.78 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. Article 6, disposition of additional state subsidy. The voters of the City of Westbrook have authorized the school committee to use all or part of the additional state subsidy received, if any, to increase expenditures for school purposes in cost center categories approved by the school committee, increase the allocation of finances in a reserve fund approved by the school committee, and/or decrease the local cost share expectation as defined in Title 20-A, Section 15671-A1B, for local property taxpayers for funding public education as approved by the school committee. Okay. Roll call.
Roll call, yes. Jessica Foley,
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan,
Yes.
Andrew Mancuso,
Yes.
Noreen Poitras,
No.
Katie Rice,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
Passes 6-1.
Okay, on to important dates. April 15th is Good Friday. It is also a compensatory day, no school for staff and students. April 16th, Passover begins. April 17th is Easter. April 18th is Patriots' Day. There's no school. Central office is closed. April 19th through the 22nd, school vacation. There is no school. April 25th at 5 p.m., there's a special school committee meeting, which is the second and final reading of the budget here at the Performing Arts Center. April 30th from 8 to 12, there is an equity and opportunity workshop. May 4th at 5 p.m., there is a finance committee meeting here at the Performing Arts Center. May 11th at 7, the school committee meeting here at the Performing Arts Center. May 17th at 5:30, there is a facilities committee meeting at the middle school. May 18th at 5, the Ed Programs Committee meeting at Central Office. May 23rd at 5 p.m., the Policy Committee meeting at Central Office. May 30th is Memorial Day. There's no school. Central Office is closed. Yes.
Can I just make sure to add onto everyone's calendar that May 9th is going to be our substituted April Policy Committee meeting at 5 at Central Office. And Dr. Lancey, could you clarify for April 30th, should we set aside 8 to 12 or 8:30 to 1? Because Amanda's email had said 8:30 to 1.
8:30 to 1.
Okay, 8:30 to 1.
Thank you. And that's optional. If people are able to attend that, that's great. If they aren't, that's okay too. There'll be other opportunities.
Okay, awesome. Now we're on to our second public participation. Any school-related matter, 3 minutes per speaker. Is there anybody that would like to speak? No, okay. Thank you, Ms. Harvey. All right, any announcements?
Happy vacation, everybody.
Happy vacation, everybody. All right, look for a motion for adjournment. That would be everybody. Oh, we have to do a roll call.
One last roll call.
One last roll call.
Jessica Foley.
Here, no, I'm just kidding. Yes.
Jeremy McGowan.
Yes.
Andrea Mancuso.
Yes.
Noreen Poitras.
Yes.
Katie Rice.
Yes.
Vice Chair Beth Schultz.
Yes.
And Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Whew.